Welcome, scholars, to American Government. This is 1.1, The Basics of Government. So before we begin, you want to pause and write the objectives down, and we're going to spend a few minutes talking about taking structured notes. So you see on this slide here that there's a picture of outline notes. I don't care what style of notes that you take, but what you need to do is to make sure you have some kind of structure to them. I would use your objectives as the key benchmarks for what you need to be taking notes on. I don't care if they're double column or outline notes, as long as you're getting the title of the lesson down at the very top, 1.1 Basics of Government, that you're using headings and indenting and skipping lines, because you need to be able to find information in your notes quickly during the timed assessments. You're not going to have forever to root through them, so making sure that you don't take just one block of notes that's hard to find is going to be really important. In addition, you want to make sure that you pause as needed and summarize and paraphrase and get that information into your own words. If you have any questions about those notes, make sure that you reach out and see me. So let's begin. So let's begin with the basics. What is government? Well, government is a system of institutions and people who control society. Public policy is a collection of laws and decisions of government related to some kind of social issue. To put things in economic terms, human beings have unlimited wants but limited resources, and government is often a way to solve disputes among various groups of people in society. So now on to the basic purposes of government. We have four of them. The first, and arguably the most important, is to protect the rights to life, liberty, and property. Those are those natural rights that John Locke identified during the Enlightenment, and those words were enshrined in the Declaration of Independence, though Jefferson changed property to pursuit of happiness. In addition, we have the job of the government to ensure the well-being of the people, to ensure a fair resolution of disputes among the people, and to define the proper use of force in society. And of course, it's up to the citizens to make sure that the government is accomplishing its purposes and to act accordingly if it's not. So there's three different ways to think about the forms of government. First is by who the rulers are. Second, by how many rulers there are. And the third is the degree of freedom in those societies. And this is the one that I would focus on. We could loosely divide governments into two camps: those that are more authoritarian, which have more power centered at the top, less freedoms for the people, and those that are more libertarian-minded, those that offer more freedom to the people. The rest of these definitions are relatively self-explanatory, but you still need to know them and make sure that you ask any questions about them if you have them in class. Now, in terms of the types of democracy, we can divide them a couple different ways. The first way to think about them is a direct democracy versus a representative democracy. In a direct democracy, the people vote directly on the issues, so they might vote yes or no on a particular issue. But most democracies are actually republics, and that's where the people elect representatives to make decisions for them. And of course, our system blends certain elements of both of these. For example, the medical marijuana initiative that Missouri recently passed was an initiative that was put on the ballot directly by the people. That's an example of direct democracy. The other way to think about it is parliamentary versus presidential democracy, and the presidential democracy model has a separate chief executive, so the president of the United States, who's not, or the president of the country who is not actually a part of the legislative branch. The parliamentary system, the prime minister or the head executive is actually part of the legislature. So in terms of the advantages of democracy, the first and most obvious one is that there's more participation in the policies that control society, and that leads to policies that better reflect the wants and needs of society. It leads to better outcomes. Those outcomes should do those basic things that we want government to do, like protect rights, improve the well-being of the citizens, ensure fair treatment among people in disputes, and provide the proper use of force by the government. Of course, there are some disadvantages of democracies too, but we'll save that for another time. So here are those objectives one more time. A quick reminder that your notes need to be handwritten if you want to be eligible for reassessments. And you're going to be watching a video and reading an article that's going to go into this a little bit more in detail and provide some practical examples of how you interact with government on the daily that you might not have thought of. Thanks, scholars. We'll see you next time.